You heard Jay-Z's new album?
I haven't.
444?
I haven't yet. No.
You haven't?
No. Not yet. But I hear spectacular things about it.
So a lot of the criticism was the holding money, like the money phone thing. And there was a strong push for generational wealth and multi-generational wealth.
Sure.
And so forth. And there's a certain level of pushback to that. Like a lot of rappers were like, fuck this, we're still gonna hold the money phone. And when I talk to people about investing money and long-term plans for money, very few people, like in terms of like my readers and so forth, very few people really get it.
No. Well, how many people have institutional wealth? How many people have generational wealth? They don't. Most 1% of the population does.
Right. I mean, like you yourself are in a position where your kids can continue to spend the money that you make in your lifetime.
Yes. Yes.
How important is that for you to establish that, or do you feel like your kids should kind of be on their own the way you were?
What I believe I've done is to provide them with opportunities. What I believe I owe them, and still owe them, is a level of protection and a level of opportunity that I hadn't previously had experience with. But like now they got these millennials. Now, millennials are 20, 30 years old, the most educated generation that ever existed. I have 3 millennials living home with me. I pay for all of them to graduate from college. I pay for a wife to graduate from college. I got a GED, but I'm the only one working. So, I had motherfuckers graduate from USC and go back to their old room. So, you know what I'm saying? So, I think that it's a generational thing, but what I think I have instilled, I think they have a depth and a breadth and an acceptance and a kind of awareness of society that I don't, and things that I don't. But I hope that I've given them, I hope that they'll never be poor. I hope that they'll never know what I've known. But in terms of being able to, a legacy where, I wouldn't do that no matter what, because I think that when I was growing up, I wouldn't let my kids eat lobster because I wanted them to be able to appreciate it. I would only buy them certain kind of cars because I want the first time they did it, they did it. I didn't want them to believe that they were entitled to it. I want them to have to reach for things. And so I think but even that's artificial. So I hope I've done I'll wait till the book come out to decide what I've done.
Right. I mean, because there's always the balancing act between, what's really the difference between a trust fund and welfare.
Right.
It's kind of equivalent to it.
It is. But trust funds are a lot better than welfare, let me tell you that. I mean, I never had a trust fund, but I have had welfare, and anything would be better than that. I'm just,
We just lost Dick Gregory.
Yeah.
I'd actually posted up the DMs. Dick Gregory actually wanted to do an interview with us, and we just couldn't manage to get it put together. And then, we just learned about the passing. An incredible voice.
Yeah.
Did you guys know each other?
Yeah. I think sometimes you do all that you were supposed to do and you leave. And I think he was the voice of a conscience, of a movement, of a nation to some degree. And I think he did all he could. And I think at least my art form is all the better for it. And I'm glad I got to know him, and I'm glad I got to see the way he weaved humor with social justice. I think Dick Gregory and Mark Twain are among my favorite comedians, my favorite humorists.
Wait, Dick Gregory and Mark Twain?
Yeah.
Well, why Mark Twain?
Because I think Mark Twain did the same thing Dick Gregory did. I think that they use their art and humor to illustrate some of the human condition.
I mean, when you look at the greatest stand-up comedians, like who would be in your top 3, except for yourself?
George Carlin, Richard Pryor, Red Fox, and a cat named Robin Harris, to me.
So Robin Harris and Red Fox are tied.
Yeah, kind of.
Eddie Murphy's not on the list.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, Eddie Murphy had a skill set I couldn't touch. So it's just, I'm talking about the guys. I'm talking about the guys that cat had more talent, like the most talented human being I've ever seen on stage. When I was on stage to this day, the most talented person I've ever seen is Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx was so talented when we started doing comedy together. I remember watching him at the Comedy Act Theater, and he was so talented, and I turned. I forgot who it was, and I go, it's fucking unfair that this motherfucker's this talented. And I was mad. I was mad. I said, it's so unfair. But that was the most, you know, that was the most talent I'd ever seen in one person on stage that long. But I'm talking about 30, 40 years, and cats doing it for a long time. The greatest comedians to me are the ones I just mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, George Carlin, it seems like all those guys sort of had a level of comedy that was so left field from what everyone else was doing at the time.
Yeah,
you know, like
Lenny Bruce was another one.
Along, it was like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah. Like, I think when you look at even like the way things changed, like Richard Pryor was integral in the way that black people were seen by society. Bill Cosby was integral in the way black people are seen by society. Ellen was integral in the way gay people and transgender are seen by society. It's been humor that's led us all this way. I mean, like when people say black people don't like gay people, black people are jealous of gay people. That it took hundreds of years, people dying and being lynched and choked and dogs set on a water hose, and then finally things started to change. Ellen, Glee, and Will and Grace started to change stuff almost immediately. So it feels like their ascent was not as turbulent as ours. Not to disrespect that, but it just seems like ours was fraught with a little more danger. So I think it's not hate it's jealousy. I think people they just think, damn, I wish it would have been as easy for us.
Well, I mean, Ellen is a lesbian, and she definitely reached especially with her show, she reached a pretty high level. But I don't know of any male gay comedians.
No, I'm not talking
of that caliber.
No, not that. People's ability to laugh and be entertained, and to see themselves, and so I think that nobody's done that for anything like comedy has. Whether it's somebody doing it from a stage or somebody doing it from a television show or a movie, no one's done it like that or been able to kind of give the aspirin and orange juice, something you need with something you like comedy, like humor. I mean, the root of humor is and I think it's human, and it's how we relate to each other. And I think that I think comedy has led the way to us becoming more human. I think it's the reason that we evolve. I do.
Comedy is the reason why we evolve.
Oh, absolutely. I think that is the reason we evolve. Huh. Absolutely.
That's interesting. I mean, because if you look at, like, for example, even historically, like with the court jester, he was the only one that was able to tell the king the truth without facing execution.
Amos and Andy, if you look at the longest laugh spread in recorded history, is All in the Family. Sammy Davis Jr. when he kissed Carol O'Connor. The longest laugh spread in history. The longest laugh spread. In other words, people laugh for so long because this white man kissed that black dude kissed this white man. The longest laughing. We've evolved in fits and starts. The whole 70s, the whole 80s. All these stories told in a humorous manner. You know, Mark Twain doing it. It's the way that we have been able to accept things. Some people would say sport and some people would say music, but all of us aren't capable of athletics. All of us aren't capable of, being musicians. All of us can laugh. All of us. And have laughed and do laugh. Look at the way we changed as a country just from the shit we used to look at. This Bod and All in the Family and MASH. They had a character on MASH called Spear Chucker Jones. The conversations they could have under the auspices of humor that you can't have even now. So I think it's how we have evolved as a country, as human beings.
Right, because music doesn't always have a social message in it.
No. And humor doesn't either. Sometimes It could just be somebody that looks different than you laughing at the same thing you do for different reasons. Laughing is
Right.
involuntary. You don't mean for it to happen. You don't plan for it. You could want to laugh and not be able to.
Right. I mean, that's sort of the cusp of the whole Dave Chappelle thing,
Yeah.
where, allegedly, he hasn't really talked about it, but he kind of did talk about it, where he allegedly left the Chappelle show and left a lot of money on the table because he felt like certain white people were laughing at his jokes a little too much.
Yeah. Well, I can't. I will say this. It is a great gift to be able to expound on and to give. And how people receive it, I don't feel like it's up to me. And what they're laughing at and why they laugh and how they laugh, I think that's a little bit more control than I care to have or care to be aware of. But I stand by the fact that I think the ability to laugh is the most intrinsically beautiful thing and human thing that we possess.
Right. Because when you look at babies laugh.
Yeah. They don't know they laugh and they don't even know why.
Right. They laugh before they could talk.
Yeah. My father never laughed. But when he did laugh, we would stop what we were doing and run inside to see what the fuck he was laughing at. And it was always All in the Family or MASH or Mod or, it was always it was always something racially potent or socially potent. It was always something. Black people used to laugh. My mother used to say, bill collector used to call the house and she would laugh and say, I don't have it. They used to tell me, you got to laugh to keep from crying. So I think it had always been imbued in my psyche. I just never knew how it would be applicable.
Now, I love that, man. I mean, like, society has moved along because of the comedians.
Yeah.
More so than the athletes and the musicians. Because, you could be racist and love Michael Jordan.
Sure.
You could be racist and love Michael Jackson. But you can't really be racist and love like a Dave Chappelle.
No.
You see what I'm saying?
You could be,
you're not gonna listen to him
but what you can be
for an hour and a half.
is racist and crack up at Dave Chappelle. It's involuntary. I don't mean to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't plan to do it. Laughter ain't too much different than love. You don't get to decide who you're in love with. You just know you do.